The Mandalorian has returned. The third season is here, and with it, Chapter 17 titled Apostate, which of course refers to Din Djarin being in exile from the Children of the Watch for breaking the Mandalorian creed. This new chapter also kickstarts the Mandalorian's new adventure, this being returning to the planet of Mandalore and uniting his people. While it's a short but sweet episode, it covers some important ground and sets up future story possibilities while also closing doors on others. This is our full review of The Mandalorian Chapter 17. As such, you are being warned for spoilers, turn away now. Oh, and a quick reminder, make sure to comment your opinions in the comment section below. This is the way after all. Greetings my young Padawans, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. Use the force and hit that subscribe and like button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Star Wars Now. As always, if you're talking about Star Wars, we want to hear about it. Interestingly, this episode starts with the armor of all people. In the recap, we do get to see some of the armor's adventures from the book of Boba Fett, which I'm sure must be confusing for people who didn't watch the show. This is always going to be the issue for those rejoining with The Mandalorian Season 3, following the second season's cliffhanger ending. Thankfully, the recap is there to bring some viewers up to date. Still, I do think it's worth watching the book of Boba Fett if you haven't done so already, but I expect most of you have. From the two people left in the Children of Watch, they seem to have bolstered their ranks with multiple other clans since we last saw them. In the book of Boba Fett, we last saw the Children of Watch on the Glavis Ring World. A nice aspect of this scene is that we are seeing a child of Mandalore be given the creed and their helmet. The child seems to be the child of Paz Vizsla, and I did wonder if he was going to die in the scene, giving us a reason for Paz to be somewhat angrier, if that's possible, this season. But this isn't the case. It could still happen, but this is just my observation. A giant Star Wars monster crocodile turtle appears, that's what we're calling it. And even all these Mandalorians struggle to fight here. I mean, for famed hunters, they did a bad job. They do shoot it a bunch, use cables, explosives, it just doesn't work. Luckily for them, Din Djarin appears to save the day with his N1 starship, which sounds beautiful by the way. For those who might not remember, the N1 starship in The Mandalorian is after the Razor Crest was destroyed. You wouldn't be mistaken being confused here. The M1 ship was built by Din Djarin in the book of Boba Fett with help from Pili Motto. Even after saving all of his Mandalorians and being killed, they still view him as an outcast. Mando's only purpose there is to show the armor a piece of glass Mandalore, which shows the server it is not poisonous anymore. Now this is really his purpose here, it's just to communicate with the armor that he's going to Mandalore now. I guess for someone who was brought up in this cult, he somewhat needs their approval, not for any other reason than himself. It's an interesting insight which we've already gotten about Din Djarin, but I'm still intrigued about where this will go. Now there's a nice little moment after this with Grogu. From staring into the hyperspace stream out of his little cockpit, he sees the shape of Purgils. Basically flying space whales can enter hyperspace. Also, Grogu can move from his little cockpit into the N1 of Din's compartment, which I've always wondered about this since we saw the new starship. It's pretty cool. Okay, an interesting detail about the Purgils and a connection we'll explore later in another video. Grand Admiral Thrawn, my favourite character, also who was teased in the second season by Ahsoka Tano, was taken into hyperspace via Purgils and Ezra Bridger, who communicated with him via the Force. It makes me wonder if A, we'll see Grogu communicate with a Purgil, and B, whether this is a subtle tease to Thrawn later down the line of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka's adventures. We'll need to wait and see, but I like it. As we've said in numerous trailer breakdowns, Navarro has become an amazing place and seeing how it's developed since season 1 is awesome. Showing some actual tangible good that the Mandalorian has done, helping drive the Empire from Navarro, much of this change must be because of the High Magistrate, Greef Karga. The man even has tiny droids holding up his cape. What is great about these Navarro scenes is it adds a lot of good comedy to the episode to keep it a bit lighthearted. We do learn that Navarro is prospering as an independent and official trade spur of the Hydian Way. The Hydian Way is super important as one of the 5 largest hyperspace lanes in the entire Star Wars galaxy. It goes all the way from the corporate sector in the north to the outer rim in the galactic south of the galaxy. So there'll be a lot of trade going through here and it's kind of important. Nice aspect is that Greef really respects and admires Mando. Sure, he gains the aspect from requesting Mando to settle down in Navarro, being his new marshal. You can still see the respect there, regardless if it benefits Greef or not. I will say, I do like how they explain away Gina Carano's character of Cara Dune, and that she was recruited by New Republic Special Forces. We did see her in Season 2 getting a medallion from a New Republic pilot, so she should take him up on the offer, I'm guessing? Presumably, this is what the New Republic Ranger show, Rangers of the New Republic, was going to be all about, but we won't get it now. at least with Cara Dune, unless they recast her. In any case, it's always a good opportunity for a book or comic series to cover. Mando seems to have come to Navarre not just to catch up with Grief, but to get IG-11. Mando only trusts the droid of IG-11, which just goes to show not only his hatred of droids, but the impact that IG-11 had on him. His original family were killed by separatist bad droids before he was rescued by Death Watch. There is this really great scene of IG-11 activating, but reverting to his original programming of kidnapping Grogu. It does seem like they used stop motion puppetry for creating the motion of a torso of IG-11 scuttering about the workshop. It's kinda cool. This isn't the only time it seems stop motion animation is used in this episode. As the fully rebuilt IG-11, without him going haywire, Grief recruits the work of the Unzalians. The droid smiths the first featured in The Rise of Skywalker. You know, it's actually great world building to use them as droid smiths to repair IG-11, as they were said to be the best, so this retroactive continuity is great. I will say it does seem that we are quickly steering back into old Mandalorian territory. Need the thing, go to the place, get the thing, come back. I hope this season doesn't dissolve back into this, and with the Mandalorians and the pirate subplots, there is another not so Mando goes on a side quest part 17. It's something they've got to be careful of. Sure, winding down to big events is good in a way, but we do know about some big things coming up for sure. One of the main hostile forces in this episode of The Mandalorian is pirates. Now we've sort of dealt with pirates before in the show, mostly raiders, but it seems like from trailers and what this episode sets up, there'll be more of a pirate threat to Navarro. What is cool with this episode sort of deals with the history of Grief Karga. He came from the head of a bounty hunter guild on Navarro, profiting off of murder and mayhem and being associated with the usual scum and villainy that Star Wars is known for. In the second season, we see Grief changing his ways and Navarro as a whole, changing a former saloon he did unsavory business in into a school. Maybe he's just teaching bounty hunters. In this episode, we have some pirate types who are very cliche, want to drink in a former saloon, now a school. And it seems like the odd hill to die on, personally. Grief Karga still shows he still has it, and managed to win a duel with one of these pirates and shoots a pistol out of his own hand. These pirates work for the pirate king Gorian Shard, who we see later in this episode and is kind of a Swamp Thing looking Davy Jones Star Wars alien with a big mossy beard. It's very pirate cliche. The coolest thing about him though, is at first I thought this vessel was an Eclipse style Star Destroyer from Star Wars Legends. If so, Mando would be toast. It has the same silhouette but is much smaller, with a deployable ball turrets giving an indication as to its smaller size. It's basically a corvette or frigate. The vessel is probably a prototype Imperial Star Destroyer or patrol craft, but much smaller and eventually stolen by pirates after the Empire's fall. Gorian Shard is not dealt with here. I am sure we'll see more of him later in the series, especially as the Mandalorian just leaves him there in Navarro's system, with Navarro being a marshal down and probably not having the best defenses. We can actually see how I've seen in one of the Mandalorian trailers, which shows Shard's starship hovering over somewhere on the ground. My guess this is Navarro, and Grief calls the Mandalorians for help taking back the settlement. There we go, that's my theory of the week. Mando heads to the rain-ridden world of the Mandalorian system to convene with Bo-Katan. We have seen some other Mandalorian-style planets in recent trailers. Din Djarin confirms that many Star Wars fans suspected. This is the homeworld of Bo-Katan and her sister, the late Duchess Satine Kryze, former leader of Mandalore. It's the planet of Kaliva. Kalivava? However you want to pronounce it. He says it in the episode, so watch that. Stick it here, stick the clip in.
This is Kalevala.
That's how you pronounce it. Interesting contrast between Bo-Katan having a stately castle with no one in it but herself, compared to the Mandalorians at the beginning of the episode who were living in caves, but were numerous and worked together against a threat. The forces fled when she didn't return with a Darksaber, and now work as mercenaries with the stolen fleet. Bo-Katan lets Din know that the mines of Mandalore are beneath the Civic Center in the city of Sundari. We have seen Sundari previously in both the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, as the capital city of Mandalore with its massive domed city structure. I am curious, when she states the mines are underneath the Civic Center seen in the Clone Wars, this showed an undercity underneath Sundari, where else would it be, where Ahsoka would hunt down Darth Maul. But maybe the entrance itself is located under the Civic Center, and the mine extends much further underneath the city. All in all, that starts Mando's quest to find the living waters and be forgiven for his transgressions of taking off his helmet, so he can join the cult that just excommunicated him. Swings and roundabouts?
Goodbye, Din Djarin.
Okay, that was chapter 17 of The Mandalorian, which is episode 1 of the 3rd season, titled The Apostate. This episode was directed by Rick Famagina, who has directed some of the best episodes of The Mandalorian, and his directing skills do come through in this episode. Rick also now serves as an executive producer on the series, which is fantastic. Okay, I will admit, it's kind of a shame that the premiere episode for the 3rd season is only 27 minutes long, but this episode was extremely dense. The recap only included all of the relevant information you needed to know going into this episode, which is something I found somewhat annoying with modern shows that have a recap, which is kind of a giveaway that we should expect when we're watching the episode, I guess. But at least with this recap, it does some of the events of the relevant Mandalorian events in the book of Boba Fett. I still think this could be confusing for the general audience who may not have watched the Boba Fett show, or even the rest of the episodes glossing over it. Why is Grogu still with Mando? It's complicated. Sure, it gets explained a little better in the show, but it still affects the episode for me. However, I will say aside from the story, the episode does fantastic with use of style of animation. The Mandalorian has always done this, doing the older, less used styles are gone out of fashion. Filming miniatures is a great example, but in this episode, we get a lot of what looks to be stop-motion animation with the Anzelians and IG-11. I'm sure we'll see more of the Anzelians in the future of the Mandalorian's 3rd season, but we'll need to wait and see. Overall, a fantastic kickstart to the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. Don't forget, we've also got The Bad Batch Season 2 airing right now, and Episode 11 aired today. Both shows will take the Wednesday spotlight for a few weeks and run alongside each other. The 2nd season of Bad Batch will wrap up before the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, so luckily the show will get some breathing room on its own. Not that it needs it, but here we are. Okay, Exiled Ones, that's of me on Star Wars Now. Stick around, we've got plenty of content coming up to take apart this episode in the next few days. You don't want to miss this. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore, and more. You can also follow us on social media as well, but make sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below, because if you're talking Star Wars, we want to hear about it. That's myself today on Star Wars Now. I've been Captain Jack, and we will see you next time. May the Force be with you.